25 years in management ended early as I took 3/4 of the full retirement benefit. I invested my stock options into the company's retirement account to dodge taxes and earn a sizable retirement check surpassing my current income. Tech investments proved profitable, with retirement checks now transferred to my Bank of America account. Last week, I deposited my final paycheck, comprising vacation pay and an $850,000 check from sold stocks, providing a comfortable nest egg. The company found a cheaper replacement for me. Intricately hidden inside her birthday cake were divorce papers served upon my unfaithful spouse. Before departing, I ensured the house was thoroughly searched for any important items and packed everything required for my business trip. A car from the office, along with other company items, remained at the workplace. My 25-year marriage partner was informed that I'd leave my company vehicle at the airport, although it had not yet been moved. To prevent the stock check from being classified as marital assets, I postponed depositing it until today. I donated my pricey suits to Goodwill, keeping just one, and reduced my possessions. Financially, I stand to benefit due to a lower tax rate and cost of living in my new location compared to California. I rented a U-Haul for a one-way trip, leased under the family trust under Uncle John's name. Everything I was taking was loaded onto it. He arranged it, and I paid in cash to avoid any connections to me. I departed from the West Coast, escaping both the job I despised and my wife's recent actions. I looked forward to a less complicated life with distant neighbors. My wife seemed to have forgotten that I still owned my parents' farm, which she detested. Her disdain confirmed that I made the right decision to leave. I came to understand that I had married a snob who hadn't changed, and I began to question whether I truly knew her real self. My actions made clear the state of our relationship, prompting me to envision my upcoming life with an unexpected peace. My departure from the past will impact numerous individuals. I've left my parents' trust untouched, keeping the farm out of our marital possessions. By giving the land to local farmers, I established a sizable emergency fund. With my mechanical abilities, I opted to repair tractors and heavy machinery instead of overseeing their design and construction. A family member readied my parents' former residence for habitation until it was livable, allaying my concerns. I phoned Kendra to inform her that I would embark on a business trip before she returned home from hers, also checking if her flight schedule remained unchanged. She expressed her eagerness to return home after 2 weeks of traveling with only a suitcase. I had every detail of my plan organized meticulously. My 3 daughters and their spouses were scheduled to arrive 2 hours prior to Kendra's return for a surprise birthday celebration. We coordinated the event collectively, with one of my daughters extending an invitation to her mom's superior and his spouse. I subtly suggested, and his wife indicated they would attend due to her husband's frequent praise of Kendra's work. She was eager to meet the woman she had heard so much about. My daughters were unaware of the scale of the surprise. Over 50 relatives and acquaintances were attending the potluck dinner as a late birthday celebration for her. We delayed the celebration because she was traveling with the management team on her actual birthday. She informed us it was an important commitment she couldn't skip. I kept silent about my knowledge, but expressed that I had recorded my birthday greetings for my wife onto a disc. Although I needed to depart, I wished to be present in spirit. I instructed them to play the recording at the end, just before the party started winding down. This way, everyone would become aware of my sentiments towards their mother. They were responsible for when to play it on the large patio TV. I left the timing decision to them. It was time to message my oldest daughter's spouse regarding my new contact details upon arrival. I also shared my updated email address with him. We had collaborated for several years, and he met my eldest daughter via me. As an accountant, he was aware of my retirement plans. Initially, he suspected the reason for my action was due to discovering his wife's infidelity, but I confirmed it by presenting him with the investigator's report. He's a person who requires tangible evidence to believe. I felt remorseful about tonight, mainly due to David learning an unpleasant truth. However, the truth needed to be revealed. He advised me to delete all my online contact information, including closing my Facebook account, which I did once Kendra was on her way home. He proposed keeping her in the dark. Given our state's laws, she would receive half regardless. I concurred, as she had earned it following her actions. Recently, I dispatched duplicates of our bank statements and a catalog of our minor liabilities to my attorney. Based on the recent property tax evaluation, our house was roughly valued, with my share being sufficient to purchase a new residence and have extra funds for its furnishing. In the garbage bin beneath the kitchen sink, I discarded my cell phone as I departed our home for the final time. I made certain that nothing I did would be detected until after the gathering. Leaving California after 25 years was sorrowful. I was returning to South Dakota's Badlands anonymously, much like when I left. Less than 10 individuals outside the family would notice my absence. The knowledge that my video would impact numerous lives brought a smile to my face. I stopped at a phone store and acquired a new device, obtaining a local number for my new location. Back in the vehicle, I made one call, and upon answering, a woman said, "This is the new number, I'm on the move," or she acknowledged, "Got it." I then switched it off to conserve power for emergencies. I eagerly anticipated the eastward journey in mid-March. In spring's reawakening, the countryside was breathtakingly lovely. Kendra and I crossed paths at an Aerosmith concert many years ago. She was a native Californian, while I hailed from another state. We got married within a year, on the same day my parents arrived for our wedding. At that time, I was involved in research and development, while Kendra handled importing and marketing. We'd been with the same companies for years. To this day, Kendra attracted attention whenever she entered a room, thanks to her unchanged physique since we wed and her fashionable attire that accentuated her best assets. Regrettably, I didn't share the same sentiment about myself. I sported the typical dad bod, complete with a protruding belly. Kendra had just returned from a 2-week stint with her boss and lover, Eric Hopper. She regretted my sudden departure, but such occurrences were common in our busy careers. Spending time with Eric was enjoyable, but she yearned for her regular routine. For a span of 2 weeks, nightly intimacy was enjoyable, but eventually, she favored having love-making sessions with her spouse on a biweekly basis. After disembarking from their private jet, she navigated the airport and hopped into her company car for the drive home. Upon arrival, she found her family gathered. Her eldest was 23, while the twins turned 22. The celebration was in full swing. For the subsequent hours, Kendra reveled in the affection from relatives, close friends, and a few coworkers. Unexpectedly, her boss and his wife appeared. She had recently spent 2 weeks with him. On asking who extended the invitation, her eldest daughter confessed it was her. She mentioned, "Your boss often boasts about you, and his wife wanted to meet you." This made Kendra feel both special and proud. At around 8 p.m., her 3 daughters applauded their mother for reaching yet another milestone. "Mom," the twins stated, "Dad decided not to miss out, so he prepared a personal message especially for you." They switched on the large TV screen and hit play on the DVD. The patio crowd fell silent. Everyone listened as my voice resonated, saying, "Happy birthday, dear." I reminisced about some memorable events from the past year. I touched upon a few amusing incidents before becoming more somber, discussing our first grandchild's birth, our last daughter's wedding, our anniversary, and our plans for a second honeymoon. "It's been quite a busy year," I stated. I felt that my relationship and I were at last moving towards the same goal. I eagerly anticipated romantic weekends like we used to have before kids came along. Upon returning from a trip abroad, I discovered this on our security system. It altered my whole perspective. I uncovered that my wife and daughters lived in separate realities. A video clip began playing, depicting my wife and daughters talking about their extramarital relationships without their partner's knowledge. In the video, the women candidly discussed their lovers, detailing their identities, experiences, actions, and timelines. They even mentioned supporting each other when circumstances demanded. Upon my initial viewing, I was taken aback. It felt surreal to listen to women so freely discussing their extramarital relationships. I needed multiple viewings to accept this unconventional reality. Their nonchalant discussion about deceiving their spouses piqued my interest. Kendra boasted about having had her third lover in the last decade. She explained that each lover offered unique and thrilling experiences until she grew tired. She openly admitted to already seeking her fourth. It was evident that their husbands remained oblivious to how these women truly regarded them. Keeping their spouses misinformed proved effortless. All they needed was to convince them they were the utmost priority in their lives. Some of the spouses who happened to be present at the party found the shared details enlightening. For numerous individuals, this was an unforgettable evening. I reappeared on the screen to announce. I questioned if they were aware they were being monitored by our security system. If they knew, they had undoubtedly orchestrated this prank against me, the crudest joke at my expense. If they weren't, it exposed their genuine sentiments towards their spouses. Their words alone didn't convince me of what I heard, I stated. However, it did instill doubt. The subsequent footage will reveal what I discovered, courtesy of the investigators I hired. The second clip depicted my wife and her boss during their last business trip. This was filmed during the initial week of their 2-week sojourn. It captured everything: the prolonged hours spent at Vancouver's exclusive nude beach, the shared hotel suite at the Westin Bayshore Hotel, the hotel register listing them as Mr. and Miss, their romantic horse and carriage ride through Stanley Park, where they whispered sweet nothings. There were romantic dinners, a nightboat cruise around the cove, a whale-watching excursion, and a day dedicated to whale watching. To the uninitiated, it appeared as if it was a honeymoon. Yet, by the video's conclusion, it became clear that I had been deceived multiple times. My final recording spoke volumes. It seems your birthday present to yourself this year, Kendra, was spending your 43rd birthday with your new lover, Eric Hopper. The excitement must have been immense. I can't verify if you made love with him every night during your trip, but I also can't deny it. I added in the recording, I do know for certain that your room only had a single double bed. To my 3 sons-in-law, I posed these questions. Do you really comprehend what your wives are doing when you aren't around? It seems I didn't. Further, I question, are you sure your children are truly yours? Are my grandchildren actually mine? I continued, questioning the numerous business trips Kendra took as just personal escapades with her latest lover. Was I such a poor lover and husband all these years? It seems so, given the longevity of your affairs, I lamented. In this new truth, I realized how insignificant I was to you. Why didn't you opt for a divorce if you were so miserable? One last query, Kendra. Is it your willingness to sleep with Mr. Hopper that makes you so indispensable to him? I must inquire due to the new information. What exactly is he remunerating you for? Does he pay you a premium for kinky activities? What's the typical rate for a married woman to act as his personal escort? It would be intriguing to hear Eric Hopper's responses too. I suspect his wife, if present, would appreciate hearing these questions as well. With my statement, I concluded the conversation as the screen blacked out. The awkward silence on the patio was palpable. No one knew how to respond or what to say. My remarks stirred up many questions and sullied numerous reputations. Even in California, where social norms are relaxed, everyone felt uneasy being part of this. Here, the police seldom bother with thefts below $1,000. This was a price we paid for living in California. Many spouses would have heated discussions at home that night. There was no doubt that this was a celebration everyone would recall for years to come. Later, I learned that my wife, Kendra, and our 3 daughters were weeping. I questioned if they were moved by the repercussions of their actions or by being caught. At that moment, I suspected they didn't care about me. The final straw was when Eric Hopper's wife, Karen Hopper, who was a 37-year-old beauty, presented 2 legal documents to both of us. It seemed Karen derived satisfaction from striking my soon-to-be ex-wife and hurling abusive words at her. Both Kendra and her lover were now facing the backlash of their actions as they began the divorce process. One might ponder what they were thinking about their new circumstances. Eric was taken aback to be discovered and exposed in front of his wife. He could not reverse what had transpired. They had both witnessed and heard my evidence. He believed his wife was oblivious because she never harbored doubts about him. Then he discovered she was my attorney. Kendra was responsible for this entire mess. If he wished to salvage his marriage, he would need to dismiss her. Disclosing the truth about my wife and my life had ended 5 marriages. My sons-in-law advised their spouses not to return home until they were prepared to disclose everything honestly. Despite the younger generation's differing moral standards, some things were still unacceptable. However, this is California, and things are often different here. Regrettably, it took an incident like this for them to learn. I drove until I felt weary. I stopped at a motel and parked in a spot where the office could see my truck. After checking in, I retrieved one of my suitcases and the new cell phone and went to my room. Following a shower, I prepared for bed and charged the phone. My curiosity led me to turn it on to check if I had a message from the woman with my number. I did. The text read, "Back from the party. Call me." Karen, my divorce lawyer, picked up before the third ring. "Hello, love," I said. "How was your day?" "Better than anticipated," Karen responded. Eric and I showed up at the house around, and there were about people present. Everybody was in high spirits. For 5 hours, the party went splendidly. "You were correct. They had no idea," Karen said. Sandra was overjoyed, feeling like the queen bee. Then, just as things started winding down, your daughters played a recorded video of yours. "Due to what you disclosed, I gained 3 new clients for the firm," Karen said, taking a moment to catch her breath. As soon as the video featuring your wife and daughters appeared, they remembered they'd forgotten to switch off the security cameras that day. It was amusing to hear all 4 women say, "Oh, SHH, we are in trouble," simultaneously. Karen laughed. Everyone was taken aback by how they spoke so casually about their infidelities, she continued. Then the clip of our spouse's romantic getaway confirmed it. Everyone knew the first conversation was authentic. When I served our spouses, everyone scattered hastily. It was as if someone shouted, "Fire," in your house. Your 3 sons-in-law inquired if I was a divorce attorney. I confirmed that I was, which is why I provided them with my services. On the spot, I received 3 retainer checks. It seems like the relationships between your daughters might be ending in divorce as well. I drove Eric's car home and left him there, Karen said happily. Did they try to reach out to me? I inquired. After most people had left, your wife attempted to call you. We observed as she found your ringing cell phone in the trash. Discarding your phone conveyed a powerful message without the need for words. It was like you were telling your family you were done with them, Karen elaborated. My husband remained silent, thinking he had been so careful, I replied, smiling. The timer is ticking. 6 months from when we filed, our divorces can be finalized. I have no regrets about finding that conversation on the security system. Without it, I wouldn't have met you. Perhaps they will resolve things swiftly, without a dispute. Do you still wish for everything to be sold and converted into cash? Karen inquired. Yes, if she can't compensate me, it might work out for me if that's her preference, I mentioned. Tomorrow, she will likely experience anxiety. I'm eager to see her reaction when she learns you've parted ways with your previous employer. Karen sighed. Tomorrow, I'll put my law practice on the market. I informed my sister and her husband that you're coming. He's excited to meet you. He still thinks you played a role in helping him secure his tractor dealership some years ago. The new situation they've established has repercussions that are just unfolding. I wonder if they'll still be amused when we're done, I responded before hanging up. Kendra was standing there holding her husband's phone. She wanted to inform him that Eric Hopper meant nothing to her and their 3 daughters were his. Then it dawned on her. He no longer cared about the truth. This was his way of announcing he was finished with them. Her deceit was responsible. She had been blindly self-centered, failing to consider the repercussions of her caught actions. She acknowledged that the thrill, pleasure, and extramarital affairs were not enough to justify the price paid. There was no turning back. Loy remained a tight-knit community where forgiveness might be offered, but forgetting would never occur. The town's inhabitants would forever whisper about her. Colin's actions served as a warning. He had severed ties with everyone, at least until his anger subsided, although he had historically pardoned her misbehavior. Kendra harbored the hope that one day she could regain his affection. Kendra admitted to herself that she hadn't intentionally designed her lifestyle. It had gradually evolved over time. Characterized by a progressive outlook, she was prone to shifting blame rather than accepting responsibility. She never perceived any issue with her actions. Given no one was being harmed, she found herself involved in her second affair. Eric Hopper was her third lover. She hadn't imagined being discovered until now. Colin and she had been engrossed in their careers, spending little time outside of work that they focused on each other and secluded themselves from the world. Her own indiscretion exposed him. This revelation was causing her daughters to contemplate divorce. Karen and I grew up in proximity, but never crossed paths due to our age gap. She had finished high school before my time started. Scheduling a meeting with her law firm for divorce advice, I stumbled upon her as my assigned lawyer. After retaining her services, I presented the incriminating video clip. The realization that the man my wife was discussing might be her husband left her stunned. We cross-verified this through her personal Facebook account. That day, it became clear that our marriages were irreparable. We found solace in each other's shared experiences. After a lengthy discussion on ethics, we decided to cooperate in the investigation. As time passed and we delved deeper, our bond deepened. Initially, our relationship remained professional, but it evolved into mutual support during the healing process. Within a few weeks, we developed a friendship. If you haven't lived through it, you can't grasp the depth of betrayal, fury, pain, and animosity. Our relationship commenced as we navigated those complex emotions over numerous phone conversations. Initially, our bond was forged out of mutual necessity. Sharing tales of our origins brought us even closer as we discovered a remarkable resemblance in our experiences. We were spiritual twins with similar pasts. We reminisced about shared locales and pastimes from our youth, which added levity to our discussions. Neither of us sought affection, but it transpired. Last week, following her confrontation with her daughters, we confessed our feelings we had fallen in love. Our relationship has thus far been non-romantic, and we plan to maintain this arrangement until our divorces are legally settled for ease. 12 days ago, immediately after I bid farewell to Kendra, Karen rang me. She had just informed her daughters about their father, who they didn't trust. I asked if her eldest daughter was still present. She confirmed, so I requested to speak with her. I informed Karen's daughter that my legal representative was her mother and that I had material to present. I clarified that I wasn't aware Karen was someone else when I employed her for my divorce proceedings. It was only upon viewing the evidence that we discovered our shared predicament. I advised them to scrutinize the evidence before rendering a verdict. Within about 30 minutes, Karen's daughters arrived at my location. I demonstrated the home security system and its functionality. Previously, you could deactivate the exterior cameras upon entering, but if the internal ones were overlooked, they would record any noise or motion. I deemed it necessary for them to comprehend this before viewing the footage. Subsequently, I made Amber and Meadow watch the conversation between my wife and our daughters. They were taken aback upon hearing their father discuss personal details of his life with my wife. This is what your mother encountered following her hiring. Due to her professional ethics, she couldn't disclose how she discovered this information, I explained. Currently, your father and my spouse are in Vancouver on a pretextual business trip. Investigators are gathering additional evidence. Upon my spouse Kendra's return, she will be served divorce documents. I had an extensive discussion with the two girls about the essence of vows, highlighting that while forgiveness might be straightforward, reestablishing trust is truly the difficulty. I voiced my worries that the girls are learning from their mother's actions, which Kendra acknowledged have been ongoing for quite some time. This predicament has made us question the authenticity of our marriage vows and view our marriage differently. I mentioned that our lives have been disrupted by these events, and without our children, everything we were familiar with would feel misleading. Karen's youngest, Meadow, took me aback with her astuteness, commenting that if our spouses valued us, they wouldn't have betrayed us. After the conversation, I contacted Karen to share how it unfolded. Later, she told me her daughters found her approachable during their talk. Amber, Karen's child, pointed out that I resemble her grandfather due to my ability to simplify complex matters and make them comprehensible, which she attributes to our shared rural upbringing. Both Karen and I are recognizing the worth of the uncomplicated life we forsake and aiming to reclaim it, escaping the incessant pace and competition of our present existence. In the following day, I departed. I rejoined Interstate East. By nightfall, I anticipated being beyond Nevada and in northern Utah, close to the Wyoming border. I took my leisure to appreciate sights I had long wished to see. To my surprise, I was at ease. That evening, post settling into a comfortable inn, I checked my newly established email account. A message awaited from my eldest son-in-law. Fortunately, he provided his phone number. "Hi, David," I greeted. "Hi, Dad. Glad you called," he responded. "I've got much to share with you, but first, where are you?" "On the highway healing my wounds," I said, with a grave jest. "I'll relay that message to the person who questioned if you've been in touch," David mentioned. "Today has been chaotic. Kendra unexpectedly appeared at the office this morning, seeking your whereabouts. In an attempt to resolve matters between you two, she decided to travel. Despite the relationship's apparent end, she persisted in hopes of salvation," he added. "Upon learning about your retirement, she requested confirmation, so I spoke with her. I explained that you had opted for early retirement and relocation. She inquired about the location, and I responded vaguely, saying I wasn't aware. She phoned me, accusing me of lying. You know where the retirement funds are sent or can ascertain it. He confided this information to me. Matters then escalated. Security was required to escort her out," he concluded. I tried not to laugh, but I couldn't help it. "Ah, things seem to be taking a turn for the worse, Dad," Carrie chimed in, sharing that your mother lost her job immediately following Eric Hopper being served with a $5 million alienation of affection lawsuit from a lawyer in Vancouver. She had to hail a cab to return home. Kendra consulted a labor attorney regarding a new case. They were given the case around 4 p.m. this afternoon, David stated. Carrie desires to return home and meet our son. I informed her we won't do anything until I confirm he's mine. If she disagrees, she can take me to court, he added. I countered, that contradicts what you assert in the recorded conversation. Laughing lightly, I said, at least she's not pressing the issue about that now. I continued, this unexpected trip is turning out to be one of the best things I've done lately as I explore sites I've long wanted to see. However, are you seriously considering divorcing her, David? The twins have packed and moved in with Kendra. David mentioned, my wife remains there too. Currently, no one wants any contact with them due to the upheaval. Everyone is too upset to think clearly. As for divorce, it depends on what the DNA results show. If he isn't my child, there's no basis for our continued union. Currently, it appears I was given a misleading narrative. She displayed only what she wished me to see, like bait on a hook. I've had approximately 6 months to process these emotions. Indeed, that length of time is necessary to comprehend what one can tolerate. Therefore, take your time and avoid hasty decisions, he suggested. Time has assisted me in moving forward and rebuilding my life. It's shifting course, and I'm enthusiastic about the changes, I expressed. So you won't return? David inquired. Only if a lawyer demands my presence in court, was my response. The destination I'm relocating to offers lower taxes and living expenses, so financially, I will benefit. Additionally, the CEO desires me to function as an advisor on occasion. I can perform this role from my new residence using a secure line and computer, ensuring I remain connected at all times. I agreed to do so under the condition that I wouldn't have to wear formal attire. Very well, Father, you are already missed here, David commented. I've been told you receive suggestions evaluating their pros and cons. Is this your latest phone number? I replied affirmatively but suggested keeping it private for now. Additionally, when speaking with Kendra in the future, suggest she reconnects with one of her past friends with benefits. Since they welcomed her first, it might be best. If she objects, simply remind her that over the last decade, she's served as your backup option. Unbeknownst to me at the time, David was recording our conversation and forwarding it to my wife and daughters. I would come to understand that Kendra wasn't pleased. She believed I had no authority to guide my son-in-law on any matter. As men, we are not entitled to such advice. My daughters were gradually recognizing the consequences of emulating their mother's lifestyle. Each spouse was growing distant, seeking minimal interaction with her. They were increasingly distancing themselves from their mother. The subsequent call was for Karen, who appeared enthusiastic to hear from me. 5 additional divorce cases overflowed her office due to my wife's surprise birthday party, revealing Kendra's past relationships. It was revealed that Kendra had been dismissed, but Eric claimed it was an attempt at reconciliation, which she rejected. Unbeknownst to him, the board of directors had already discussed the matter with her, explaining everything. Karen would be reinstated and promoted, while Eric would be demoted for misusing company resources. Karen's skills made her irreplaceable. After her divorce, Karen informed her daughter that she was returning to South Dakota. If they wished to remain in California, they would need to secure their own accommodation or live with their father. "I'm at an age where I desire a more straightforward life," she stated. Meadow inquired, "Is it because you have feelings for Colin?" Karen replied, "Yes, but we haven't acted on them yet, but I had to share our tale." Meadow commented, "I hope it brings some youthfulness back to you." "It does," Karen affirmed. She extended an invitation for them to accompany her upon relocating, noting, "You've reached an age where you can choose your own path in life. Learn from my experiences." Recognizing that Kendra might find it difficult to locate another partner like myself given the media attention surrounding our split, I pondered when she would come to terms with this reality. By noon, I had arrived at my hometown, a journey of more than 3 days. I stopped by a small diner for lunch before heading to the farm. In my final week of work, I had organized the electricity connection. Waiting for my burger and fries while sipping coffee, I muttered under my breath, "Just great, another curse." An elderly gentleman approached and took a seat in my booth. "Hey there, Colin White," he said. "It's been a while, son. You're looking well." "Thank you, Uncle John. Where's your wife?" I replied with a smile. "The house is nearly ready for occupation now. It has been cleaned, the refrigerator fixed, and the old stove's fuses replaced. You might want to consider updating and modernizing it." Living in town now, Robert and his wife have assumed control over the farm. I suggested ordering some food as we chat, which was agreeable. A trip down memory lane brought me back with my family before heading to my childhood home. The local grocery store supplied me with necessities prior to departure. Surprisingly affordable prices here made filling 2 carts a breeze. By checkout, the cashier and I shared old-school memories. Upon arrival at my family home, its good appearance from outside took me aback. Greeted by my aunt and cousins, they helped carry in the groceries. Once stored away, we brewed coffee. After their departure, I inspected the house more closely. As Uncle John had predicted, major updates were indeed needed. Thus, I contacted him for suggestions on reliable construction crews. 2 hours elapsed, he led us to the residence, granting me ample time to unpack. Upon inspecting the house, we concluded it would be more economical to construct a new one. The existing house required complete overhaul of its electrical system and plumbing. Fortunately, the barn was in sound condition. With a fresh roof, some board replacements, and a facelift through painting, it would be as good as new. Plans were made to eliminate the stalls, allowing for conversion of the barn into my workshop for tractor and heavy equipment repairs. That evening, I phoned Karen with this news. We agreed on a single-story house design with a compact cold storage area below, built upon a 4-foot crawl space insulated for winter's chill. The following day, I planned to visit my brother-in-law's dealership. I contacted the contractor, sharing my vision. He mentioned he had some blueprints to present later. Subsequently, I relinquished the rental truck and procured a pre-owned Ford truck with minimal mileage, transferring and insuring it before returning the rental vehicle. Visited the bank, completed a deposit, grabbed a couple of blank checks, and requested more. Astonishingly, gas prices were significantly lower there compared to usual. I subsequently introduced myself to Karen's elder brother. To my surprise, we discovered that we had attended high school together. On the spot, he extended a job offer, allowing me flexibility with a starting date. I disclosed my future plans and current engagement with the corporation. He jokingly commented on his sister and our connection. He mentioned he had never truly comprehended his older brother-in-law. I concurred with him. We reached an agreement with the contractor regarding the construction of a 4-bedroom house, equipped with a spacious 2-car garage behind the old dwelling. Our decisions included a new septic system and gas utilization for heating, water, cooking, and backup electricity. The property would boast an open design, laundry room, mudroom accessible from the garage, and a double-insulated crawl space. This project's expenses would be met by my divorce settlement. Following my update on signing the contract for our new home and encounter with Karen's brother, David phoned to reveal Kendra had enlisted a private agency to track me down, hoping to reconcile. I told David there was no need for reconciliation since if we ever got back together, Kendra would simply reenact her actions. Upon contemplation, David acknowledged that many intelligent individuals overlook basic truths, which is a significant reason behind the numerous issues in our political system. I conveyed my belief that Kendra does not view her actions as the issue. Rather, she thinks I require re-education to adapt to her behavior. She isn't genuinely remorseful for her actions, but only for being discovered. David acknowledged the validity of my standpoint and concluded he needed to discuss marriage equality with Carrie. He brought up his father's phrase, "The same goes for you," and admitted that his mother perceived him as a tool for achieving her goals. I proposed to David seeking marriage counseling, ideally from a conservative therapist, as a means to provide Carrie with a fresh perspective. He concurred, stating their relationship could be at risk if Carrie doesn't strike a balance, and he might need to leave for his own mental well-being. I devoted myself to renovating the barn, removing the stalls. It served as an occupying task. The labor-intensive work was grueling, but it felt rewarding to exercise my muscles again. I found pleasure in the process. On a Thursday evening, I received an unexpected call from Karen. Her words caught me off guard. "Apparently, my daughters thought I needed comforting," she said. They had informed my brother about our divorces without realizing he was already aware for over 4 months. Meadow explained how I discovered my ex's infidelity and casually mentioned your presence. They told him you attended school with him and shared how you assisted him in acquiring the dealership years ago. I owe him a great debt. It emerged that you had returned to manage your family's farm. They discussed us for approximately an hour. Gradually, all was revealed. It appears their beloved uncle supports our relationship unexpectedly. It's crucial we keep that secret. Kendra employed a firm to locate me, I disclosed. She believes if she speaks with me, she can persuade me to forgive and return. "How did you discover this?" Karen inquired. "I contacted my eldest son-in-law at work. He's keeping me apprised," I replied. "Additionally, our conversation is aiding him in planning the next steps." "No issues there," Karen remarked. "My daughters have promised not to disclose anything after their actions." Intrigued, I asked, "What transgression did they commit?" "They utilized my credit card to arrange a flight for me." Arriving at the regional airport at 8 p.m. on Friday night, Karen elaborated. "Live your dream, Mom," they said. "You both deserve it." I waited for her with a dozen red roses, feeling both thrilled and optimistic. This weekend signified our initial joint experience, causing me to reminisce about the last instance where I felt this vibrant and playful was during my teenage years. Upon her arrival, her brunette hair was styled to emphasize her natural attributes, prompting me to smile involuntarily. Her relaxed attire, blue denims, a yellow blouse, and a jacket resembling denim made her appear comfortable and sincere. Aware that she hadn't dined, we collected her luggage and moved towards Ruby Tuesdays, where I had prepared a surprise. Following the car parking and suitcase securing, we entered. Her brother and sister-in-law were previously there, and by the end of dinner, Karen consented to act as her brother's lawyer upon her return home. As we drove down my childhood driveway, uncertainty clouded my mind regarding what lay ahead. The house was a conventional design from the 60s, compact yet sturdy. A wave of joy illuminated Karen's face as she crossed the threshold. Once settled, I offered her a beer and retrieved some of my parents' old records to play. We enjoyed reminiscing to tunes by Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and Frank Sinatra on our couch, as if we were teenagers back then. These were the melodies our parents used to play when we were young. Our pace was deliberate, ensuring we weren't straying off course. Kendra seemed discontented. She was accustomed to having her way. She needed to discuss matters with her spouse Colin, yet found herself at an impasse. There was no record of him boarding a flight, renting a vehicle, or anything similar. Even private investigators were drawing blanks. His Facebook account was deactivated, his credit card canceled upon his request by Bank of America. Every avenue she explored led her nowhere. Every day this week, his attorney called, inquiring about the name of her lawyer. She hadn't retained one because she believed their marriage could be salvaged. He had deleted all his contacts from the old phone log. She was aware he had family but couldn't recall their names. His kin were not significant to her, so she paid them little mind. She couldn't find any hint of him, not even his social security number. Colin and his daughters were growing concerned. He had regularly interacted with them, but since he vanished, only David was in touch. And David wasn't disclosing much. Initially, he hadn't communicated until he confirmed little Colin as his son, yet he appeared unhurried to do so. When Carrie confronted him about it, he ridiculed her. This wasn't how a husband should behave. Colin was acting out of character, causing her distress. Colin was consistent in his actions. She could always depend on him. Now, they had to employ someone to perform the tasks that only Colin could do. The issue was, hired help lacked the carefulness and affection that Colin possessed. This entire scenario was putting a strain on everyone. If Colin had simply acted as he usually did, her relationship with her daughters wouldn't be deteriorating. They wrongly accused her of their relationship issues. Colin wasn't acting correctly. It's each woman's duty to manage their lives properly. Every man in a partnership needs to learn that the woman is in control. When she discovered Colin's inappropriate behavior towards her and their children, she would make him suffer for it. Sitting on the porch, sipping coffee, and watching the sunrise is as straightforward and lovely as anything can be. That's what Karen and I were doing. Until now, I hadn't realized why my parents started their day this way whenever they could. Being here, feeling loved and cherished by the universe and you, gives one the confidence to confront anything, Karen said. They remained silent as they saw their world the same way. I held her hand, just like my dad would with my mom. Without saying a word, I expressed a lot. On my way home, I recognized my return to being authentic and shedding what I had transformed into. The transformation is evident within me. I find myself feeling safer and more tranquil than I can recall ever being, I murmured quietly. I noticed the same burden lift from you last night as you approached me. It's a sensation that can't be expressed until it's experienced. Your words suggest it's impacting you too, Karen commented. It's disconcerting for me due to cultural differences. Everything feels genuine here, not fabricated. Here, one can truly reflect. The stillness of the morning facilitates it. I had forgotten how stunning and soothing silence could be. Moments like these underscore the essence of life that emerges when two souls are prepared. This weekend served as a revelation for both of us. We embarked on a journey of self-discovery. Though we came close, we did not engage in sexual activity. Both of us craved more from the relationship than just physical intimacy. I was introduced to her parents for the first time. The visit turned out well, as I spent 4 hours repairing the timing on his tractor and some minor issues. Once finished, it ran efficiently and steered accurately. For the first time, Karen observed me covered in oil, grime, and dirt. She watched me clean up in their mudroom while smiling. According to my mom, mudrooms are designed to prevent messes from entering the house. Her father expressed gratitude that the tractor wouldn't have been in the shop for a week without my assistance. Excitement filled her mother at the thought of her only daughter returning home. Leaving Karen at the airport on Sunday evening was sad. I hadn't returned to California in 2 months, and progress was being made. Kendra finally found a lawyer. The court approved a 50-50th split. Despite his foolish attempts to save every penny, Karen's husband continued being stubborn. David and Carrie sought help from a marriage counselor because the baby belonged to him. They met with him weekly, making slow but steady progress. Carrie adjusted her perspective, compelled to view the opposite stance. Rapidly, young Colin resembled a thriving plant. Eagerly, I anticipated meeting him. Kendra, along with my daughters Faith and Hope, were all disturbed by their divorces. Their former husbands declared they could no longer trust them. Regrettably, I comprehended the rationale behind it. The bond between my ex-wife and her daughters was irreversibly altered. I found myself in Leh, summoned via a private jet to spend a week or two scrutinizing the company's latest product. It needed to pass its final assessment before large-scale production began. Over the next fortnight, I would assess its robustness, toughness, mobility, and repairability. The corporation reserved me a room at one of the town's Hampton Inns and Suites. Amber Hopper chose to dine with her mother at the hotel restaurant. They were already seated when I arrived. Amber recognized me and smiled as I approached her. We had arranged to meet earlier for coffee, ensuring our plans were progressing smoothly. Amber admitted, "Mom, I invited a friend to join us, so you might want to scoot over a bit more in the booth." Karen replied optimistically, "I think you'll enjoy meeting them." Inquiring about her plans, she scooted over to create space. "It's simply someone I've become acquainted with recently, and both Meadow and I are excited about spending more time with him," Amber explained. Upon my arrival, Karen turned towards me, beaming when she recognized me. Over the past 2 months, I had grown a mustache and goatee, but hadn't lost weight instead. I had gained muscle mass. "Wow, what a shock," Karen exclaimed. "I adore your new look, but why are you here?" I responded. "Firstly, I'm going to have dinner with my girlfriend and her daughter. During the meal, I'll share more details." "Amber, thanks for assisting with my clandestine arrangement." Meadow arrived as we were about to order. She apologized for her tardiness, stating she had to work past the scheduled time. During our meal, I shared that I was in town to trial a new product set for release within a few years. The main modification being the large tractor would operate on natural gas. If it performed as expected, farmers could establish a refilling station on their farm at minimal labor costs. The equipment expense would include the fixtures necessary for the refill pump. Since natural gas is cheaper and cleaner than gasoline, we believed this product had great market potential. If the test model proved successful, our company would introduce it as part of a new line. As we were about to order dessert, Karen's daughters inquired, "Are you two planning to move to South Dakota before school begins in September?" Karen replied, "Yes, why do you ask?" "How far is Vermilion from your new home, Mom?" Amber questioned. "1 mile from the farm." "Why ask?" "I will be enrolling in my MBA at the University of South Dakota this fall. Can I stay with you all? If not, I can stay with Uncle Joseph. I chose that school because it's one of the most affordable in the country, allowing me to reduce living expenses." Karen was smiling while holding back tears. I squeezed her hand tightly. "You were correct," I said. "We are building a new 4-bedroom house. It will be completed next month," I added. "We prepared for this as we wanted to be ready in case you both decided to move here." "We had hoped you might come," Meadow said, "but we wanted you to make the decision freely. If I had forced it, you would have blamed Colin, and he would have been burdened by your resentment," Karen explained. "How did you know that, Mom?" Amber inquired. "Colin asked if I trusted you two to make the right choice for yourselves. I answered affirmatively," she replied. "Then, it seems so, since my bond with you surpasses your relationship with your father," he stated, leaving Amber and Meadow perplexed. Eventually, Amber responded, "On that initial night, you had already assessed us. By the time we parted ways, you'd anticipated our actions, hadn't you, Colin? I was aware of your pursuit for higher education, Amber, and understood it could be anywhere. My focus, however, was Meadow. When she spoke about respect, I knew what was to come," I clarified. "The most challenging aspect was convincing your mother that everything would work out. The uncertain is always difficult," but time provides the necessary responses. We had concluded our meal and were preparing to leave. Karen and I were off to watch a movie. Amber and Meadow were heading home. It was at this moment that Kendra noticed me. She was driving in as I was opening the car door for Karen. It took her a few minutes to identify me due to my altered appearance. My lifestyle had undergone a transformation. I no longer worked behind a desk. By the time she recognized it was me, we had already departed. I slimmed down while working on the barn, setting up a wood stove for heating and performing general cleanup tasks. My muscles, long dormant, regained definition. The years-old pot belly I had carried disappeared. Now leaner, I appeared younger, as the weight of stress that had burdened me for so long was lifted. In many aspects, I felt reborn, with hidden portions of my soul emerging, seemingly liberated by my relationships. After dropping Karen off from the movie, I returned to my suite and requested a morning wake-up call. Security acknowledged me and admitted me so I could view the completed new design for the first time. This was the most enjoyable part, witnessing the finished work ready for final approval before mass production. Although research and development can be tedious, seeing the finished product in its glory made it worthwhile. Prior to my colleague's arrival, I had already begun testing the machinery and identified minor adjustments needed. I repositioned the feeding line to avoid direct heat damage and noted these findings for the final report. My teammates were taken aback yet pleased with my efficiency. The president unexpectedly visited during my demonstration of using the test tractor to transport and position LB. Despite being in casual attire, blue jeans, white t-shirt, and a backward baseball cap, I deftly handled and maneuvered the large tractor, eliciting laughter from him. The gear shifts were seamless. The tractor's arms supported the required weight effortlessly, and despite my attempts to tip it over, I was unsuccessful in every attempt. I even drove it on two wheels off a ramp, and it returned to all fours as expected. The equipment's balance was commendable. "Colin, you're still top-notch," the president commented. "If you could flip this tractor on its head, you would. What do you think of this machinery? If it can handle what I intend to subject it to, it will be among the best we've ever created so far. Apart from a few minor tweaks, it's performing exceptionally well. An added advantage is that it consumes less fuel than a typical diesel engine," I noted as I extended my hand. "Nice to see you once more, Pete," he replied with a grin. "We'd offer your old position back if you wished, but given your appearance, I can understand why you left. Where did you locate the Fountain of Youth?" Unbeknownst to him, he had uncovered the key to my assessing a new product. I treated it just as I did my first truck, regarding it as the worthless junk it appeared to be. By the end of the day, I said it had held up well, one hurdle cleared, 9 more to go. It was nearly 8 when I returned to my hotel. Upon arriving at the lobby, I found my daughter Carrie and son-in-law David already there, with little Colin in Carrie's arms. I appeared disheveled, caked from head to toe in dry mud. Noticing me, Carrie approached. "Hi, Dad," she greeted. "You're looking great. Got a moment for us or not?" I glanced at David and understood his unspoken message, responding, "Yes, but first let me take a shower." Upon which, David joined our group. "Feel free to wait here or head up to the suite with the kitchen," I suggested. "We can have food delivered or dine downstairs, whatever suits you both." "Let's go to your suite, order some food while you're cleaning up, then we can catch up properly," Carrie proposed. So that's what transpired. We placed our orders through room service. Afterward, I hastened for a shower. While dressing, Karen phoned. I briefed her about the situation and assured her I'd call back afterward. I opened a bottle of Crown Royal and poured drinks for everyone. The children requested Coke. I mixed a little water into theirs before stirring. Carrie began, "Dad, David and I have been dealing with significant problems over the past 2 months. The conversation you uncovered brought these issues to light. To be honest, I moved back home last week. We all assumed you were aware of Mom's outside relationships, believed she had your approval. Mom explained her actions by stating that the two of you had vastly different sexual appetites. David and I were making no progress, so she underwent a polygraph test to verify her actions for both of them. Until she did this, divorce seemed inevitable. I understand, I replied. I hope you both realize the harm caused by these revelations. Time and genuine sincerity are required for re-establishing a new relationship moving forward. I embraced my grandson, cradling him against me, his small head resting on my shoulder. I requested David to capture this moment. I discovered that, in many aspects, I was acting like my mother, rationalizing her actions based on her perspective. Nevertheless, it does not mean her actions were justified. Carrie added, I acted without conscious thought, as it felt so instinctive. It has been a considerable surprise. David remarked, Dad, I'm discovering aspects of her I didn't know existed before. This realization has made me hopeful that we have more than a 50-50 chance of success. Simply bear in mind it takes time, open dialogue, and a willingness to truly listen, I advised. Since we're both young, it's not excessive to seek individual guidance or counsel. Kendra let societal expectations cloud our marriage until she rationalized its dissolution. I suspect she still blames me, I remarked. You're right, Dad, Carrie agreed. I informed my sisters that I wouldn't listen to her excuses anymore. I wanted to save my marriage, but we argued, and I told them that when they snapped out of it, we could discuss. Until then, don't bother me. After this, our meal arrived. It was pleasant dining with them. Carrie inquired if I had been on a diet regimen. I chuckled and clarified that I'd just been exerting myself physically rather than mentally, and my body was responding well. I no longer spent my days cooped up behind a desk or lounging on the couch. It was almost time for them to depart. Leaving, Carrie hugged me and murmured, I appreciate this new father figure I've been seeing. Laughing, I shared that since the divorce commenced, suppressed aspects of me surfaced due to the deep impact my long-term relationship with her mother had on me. I messaged Karen to check if she was still awake. She was, so I phoned her and recounted how the night unfolded. Time heals all wounds is a favored saying, but it merely signifies acknowledgement of past events, not true healing. It doesn't make things right, even though some might assert otherwise. Faith and hope have learned this lesson the hard way. On Tuesday, around 7, I entered the Hampton Inn lobby to find my two young daughters waiting. My initial thought was that Kendra had blindsided me again. Indeed, she had. My twin daughters, in their perspective, were delivering a lecture about my behavior towards their mother, deeming it as cowardice. They had returned to my suite for privacy prior to confronting me over my departure from their mother's marriage. They confessed that their marriages had ended due to their husbands, similar to myself, struggling with their wives being fully independent women of modern times. Growing tired of their antics, I summoned security. Upon arrival, I requested them to expel the young ladies because I was disinterested in their proposition. My daughters were escorted out through the back door and barred from future visits. The Hampton Inn security personnel informed them that they were not welcome to attempt spreading any questionable social behaviors to their unaware patrons. Karen found my actions amusing. Those young women will be spending a considerable amount of time contemplating tonight, as someone is always compensating for sex when love isn't present. She inquired, Can I inform Amber and Meadow about this? I responded affirmatively. If one were to ignite a stick of dynamite without a match, I couldn't have executed it better, she remarked. Carrie phoned my room approximately 2 hours later. Bravo, father, well done, Carrie said. My two sisters have just discovered that their actions reek just like everyone else's. They have departed, still weeping. I seized the chance I couldn't resist, I stated, laughing, since neither of them would provide me with an opportunity to elucidate anything. Their behavior left no room for doubt. They didn't want to listen to my explanation. Ultimately, I made the only call I could. Security performed a background check on both of them. They turned out to be clean, she concluded. Faith and Hope attempted to justify themselves, but we all having different last names was not convincing enough for them. I pointed out to them that when their casual partners were whining and dining them, they were actually being paid up front. Their expressions suggested they finally understood. I'm relieved now that I didn't take part in it, And I'm embarrassed I even discussed it before. Did David listen to our conversation? Yes, he heard everything, and he was delighted with how I clarified the situation. It has been beneficial for us, as we both have a clearer perspective now. It's hard to comprehend how our mother could convince us that her actions were acceptable. Faith and hope are deeply hurt and may take some time to sort things out. Until then, they didn't realize their behavior was no different from the people they had always looked down upon. Carrie explained this. I added, ponder this. You criticized our father for his actions. Have you ever considered how your actions and Mom's affected him? Did you solely focus on yourself? That's a question I'm still figuring out. Mom always painted our world in a rosy light with her progressive ideals, making almost everything acceptable. It wasn't until she was caught that the truth of our world became clear to your sisters and me. It's unfortunate that many in society continue to wear their rose-colored glasses, oblivious to the reality staring them in the face. My dear child, you have learned something that most adults will never grasp in their lifetime. What is that, my child? The capacity for logical thought, even about the simplest things. That's what sets your mother and I apart on our life journey. Welcome to my world. Unfortunately, you had to learn it the hard way. On Wednesday night, I went to Karen's for a family dinner. The girls were eager to plan for the move and discuss how we would execute it. I shared with them my findings from Carrie the night prior. Post-dinner, we took care of the dishes. I washed, while the girls dried and put them away. Eventually, the girls found us engaged in a kiss. For the rest of the evening, they kept pestering us about it. On Friday evening, Karen and I had planned to dine privately at a restaurant near the pier. We were engrossed in each other's eyes over drinks before ordering when suddenly our twins appeared. The host informed us, "Your daughters noticed your absence during their wave and asked if they could join your table." I hesitated, but Karen replied, "Yes, we would like them too." I shifted seats to sit next to her. You can't ignore their presence, no matter the circumstances. I understand you don't feel fond of them currently, but you still care for them, Karen asserted. So, it's essential that you listen to them. Regardless of my feelings towards it, Karen was correct. At our table, we observed as the hostess brought my daughters. Their expressions suggested they were preoccupied. I waited until they settled. "Allow me to introduce Karen," I said. "She's not only my lawyer, but also my girlfriend." "If you're here to criticize me further, please depart," I added. "We deserve that," Faith responded. We held a lengthy conversation with Carrie the previous night. She was blunt with us and didn't mince words. We anticipated support, but instead, we received unvarnished truth. By the end of the conversation, we understood the true reflection our actions portrayed about ourselves. It doesn't present us in a favorable light, Faith concluded. Carrie demonstrated that we were essentially being compensated for our services like a prostitute, though she also explained this. We discussed our conduct amongst ourselves and reached an understanding. Many homeless people resort to it as a means of survival, Hope clarified. We undertook the action because we found it enjoyable and felt we were doing nothing wrong, yet our actions appear much more detrimental in hindsight. Upon returning home, we discussed the matter with Mom, leading to a heated argument. In the heat of the exchange, Mom asserted that we had been influenced too much by conservative nonsense, Faith claimed. Mom, during one of her outbursts, said, "So what if others got injured? They should learn to mature. In our society, the only crime is getting caught. There are no repercussions for social transgressions. Notice how our federal government operates. Some of its most prominent figures make illicit money, and they face no penalties. It indicates that the law only governs some," Hope remarked. "Nothing is entirely good or bad," Faith said. "Each individual has the right to live their life as they choose." Despite her words, Mom remains unrepentant and guilt-free. This realization struck us. We teach our students what is morally correct, yet we have confused those concepts through our own behavior. We've moved into a nearby two-bedroom apartment. We rent it for 6 months due to its proximity to the school where we both teach. It seems like a step towards rebuilding our lives. We're determined to break free from our mother's influence and uncover who we truly are. Hope and I will be moving in tomorrow as Mom is occupied with a political party matter, Faith mentioned. Upon seeing us, we felt compelled to apologize for our past mistakes. Dad, we understand now that you were left with no other option. Hope explained that if you had confronted us directly, it would have been an unfair situation. I agreed that sometimes things need to resolve themselves naturally. I forgave you as I believed your actions were driven by our mother's influence. Kendra, I promise to forgive, but never grant her another chance again. Their actions have consistently been self-focused and calculated. In any case, I gave them my cell phone and asked for their contact details to be entered. They obliged and included my new number in theirs. Hope inquired about the location of the phone number. South Dakota was the answer. Faith exclaimed with a wide grin that you've moved back to Grandpa's farm. It would make him so proud, she added. Karen questioned if we were familiar with the farm. Yes, the father ensured we spent every summer there while growing up, Hope responded, until we reached high school and adopted typical teenage attitudes. We learned to drive on Grandpa's tractor. The father would take us out and bring us back. He would talk to us every night when we were there. We never heard from the mother during that time. She was out of sight, out of mind, as Grandma used to say about her. So, Dad, why are you in town? Faith asked. Can we get your cell phone number? Karen requested, turning dinner into a celebration. The twins discovered that a new house was being constructed and that I was in town for this reason. They also learned about Karen having two daughters slightly younger than themselves. During our meal, Hope received a message from her elder sister asking if they were all right. She responded by stating that she was dining with their father and his girlfriend Karen. Faith and I will visit them later to clarify the situation. As we leisurely strolled along the pier, we marveled at how things were gradually falling into place. Karen expressed surprise at my decision to move away from them, leaving them to work out most of it on their own. My father said, "Give a person enough freedom and they'll make their own mistakes," I concurred. Their own actions, revealed by their peers of the same gender, exposed their true nature. Had I been present, it would have been 4 against 1. Instead, they were confronting their own internal conflicts. Their sense of honesty and morality ultimately led to their downfall. Wrongdoings are only perpetuated when someone fulfills others' desires, Karen argued, or many in our society prefer blaming others instead of themselves. In essence, I was often their scapegoat. I refused to comply with their actions as they appeared unjust to me, I stated. To Kendra, this was a vulnerability to exploit, Karen said. However, I perceive it as one of your strengths because your conduct reveals your character. You were never one to follow the crowd, swayed by the whims of the immoral. Instead, you remained steadfast. Upon returning home, Kendra anticipated finding her twin daughters. The political event on Saturday had lasted longer than she anticipated, and she was considering a night out together. She pondered their recent dispute and realized she had overstepped boundaries. She understood that it had become unpleasant because she recognized traits of their father in them, and she couldn't tolerate this. She placed her purse on the counter to retrieve a Coke from the refrigerator when she noticed 2 house keys on top of a brief note along with them. The message read, "We have left. We dislike what you helped us create. Good fortune in your life. Your number has been blocked." It was signed off by Faith and Hope. Since Tuesday night, Carrie hadn't heard from them after Dad requested security to evict them from Hampton Inn. Curious about her mother's response, Carrie inquired why he did this. Kendra asked why. According to Carrie, they aimed to convey the way he mistreated you. They confronted him as if attempting to belittle him. In response, Dad stated, "I can't take this anymore," and summoned security. Upon arrival, they were told that he wasn't interested in their proposition, Carrie explained. The security personnel escorted them through the rear exit, as they mistook them for high-end prostitutes, Kendra pointed out with concern. When they arrived here weeping, they shared their tale with me. "Shall I tell you what I told them, Mother?" Carrie inquired. "Sure, maybe I should," Kendra responded. I disclosed it to them. As their friends with benefits were complaining and whining them over, they weren't reciprocating the affection. Instead, they were being compensated for their services in advance, as Carrie clarified. Carrie chuckled at her mother's expressionless face. Kendra began crying. Carrie's words struck a chord with her. She understood she could no longer interact directly with her husband Colin or be alone with him. What Carrie disclosed was the truth about her father. Kendra recognized it instantly, and without uttering a word to any of them, it shattered everyone. No one who spoke honestly could contest that straightforward statement. Everyone who heard it would acknowledge it as an undeniable fact. Those weekends spent with friends with benefits, which she believed were romantic escapades, turned out to be payments for her services. Colin failed to put a positive spin on the unvarnished truth. It took her several weeks to comprehend his words from the video, which she heard upon returning home from Vancouver. Her behavior, perceived as turning her twins into a high-class prostitute for over a decade by him, became reality. No man could tolerate such truth. Unsurprisingly, he departed. She left him no other option. Only now does she comprehend his perspective. If the truth about her surfaced, it would mean her downfall, and he knew this. By leaving, he granted her something she didn't give him: dignity. Through her actions, she destroyed herself and her family. Her liberal lifestyle had crossed a line. She lost touch with her husband and daughters as she refused to acknowledge the truth about her actions. Admission of fault wasn't in line with her progressive beliefs. For the first time, she had no one to blame but herself. She was responsible for her own downfall. Kendra surveyed the house, acknowledging that she needed to sell it to start anew. Too many memories lingered, reminding her of what she had lost. Confronting reality proved challenging for her. She expressed the house was excessively large for her needs, and most people would accept it as truth. Eric Hopper would find satisfaction in this turn of events, considering her situation unfairly lenient. Alone, similar to him, she would be. Karen and I returned to her residence following a night filled with drinking and dancing. We found ourselves dozing on the couch together. Meadow and Amber seized this opportunity. Using Karen's phone, they dispatched photos to my two youngest daughters, who responded promptly. The quartet began strategizing. One of her daughters obtained a blanket and covered us. Upon waking, I beheld a sleeping angel in my embrace. My phone revealed it was well past 7 a.m., indicating we had dozed off around 1 a.m. Meadow had already risen, sitting in a chair watching us. "Looks like I'll have to grow accustomed to this," Meadow remarked, smiling. Mom appeared joyful and content, deciding to brew coffee for everyone. Approximately an hour later, the four of us were gathered at the kitchen table, unwinding and conversing, when Karen made an unexpected announcement. "Later this afternoon, my family will be arriving for a gathering," she said. Karen and I swiftly responded. I ensured the barbecue fuel was sufficient while she changed clothes. After jotting down a shopping list, we hurried to my apartment so I could take a quick shower and shave. Then we ventured to the local grocery store. As we were about to enter, we bumped into Kendra exiting. She halted in front of me. "Colin, let the girls know I'm selling the house," Kendra stated. "If they want anything, Carrie still has a key. Since they're not speaking to me, they can take what they desire during my working hours. The same applies to you. I'll relay the message and grant Karen power of attorney to act on my behalf," I replied. As for me, I had already taken what I needed upon leaving. I'll only be in town for another 6 days. She gave a nod and departed, allowing us to proceed with loading the vehicle full of groceries as we discussed our peculiar encounter with Kendra. "It appears there's something significant happening in Kendra's life that we're unaware of," I observed. She seemed distracted. "Happening today?" Karen wondered aloud. "No, she's accustomed to living alone," I replied. "Therefore, it's not the twins moving out that has affected her. It seems there's another issue she's trying to tackle. She deeply cherishes that house, so whatever transpired caught her off guard and hit her hard." During the barbecue, Karen and I discovered what the twins had penned to their mother and what Carrie stated afterward. Our 5 daughters enjoyed each other's company greatly. David and I mainly observed from the sidelines as the 5 women conversed. Amber and Meadow were doting on little Colin. I informed my daughters about what their mother shared at the grocery store. David expressed his desire for the large plasma TV. Carrie simply sighed in response. This elicited a chuckle from me. The initial gathering of our extended family proved to be most successful. Post my daughter's departure and the conclusion of cleaning up, we unwound with a refreshing beer. Essentially, Faith and Hope have severed ties with their mother momentarily, aiming to discover their identities independent of her. Influence, Amber questioned. Why would they make such a choice? Karen inquired. They emulated their mother's actions and became entangled with friends with benefits arrangements, which resulted in the dissolution of their first marriages, I pointed out. It took my separation from Kendra for them to reevaluate their predicament. Last Tuesday, they challenged me on my treatment of their mom, leading to our expulsion from the house. During an intense argument with their elder sister that same night, Carrie mentioned that when their friends with benefits were entertaining them, they were in fact being compensated for their services in advance. Amber was left speechless by this revelation. David mentioned that he, your mother, and he were taught early on that how the world perceives us is more significant than how we see ourselves. People interpret our actions and words differently. David's assertion resonated with Karen as she agreed, leaning against you. Your father's actions, however, raised questions since they contradicted his words. As a result, the twins decided to distance themselves from their mother in order to understand themselves better. You should be proud of them for taking responsibility for their actions, you mentioned. They have initiated healing by admitting their mistakes. It seems that our words had an impact as the ensuing silence was profound. Amber later praised, "You're going to make a great dad, Dad," which brought tears to Karen's eyes. The rest of the week remained quiet, with Karen and you spending as much time together as possible. The new tractor underwent tests and passed them all, making the president delighted. I named it Beta. Prior to my departure, a family gathering occurred where the twins developed a bond with Karen's daughters. It was challenging to detach little Colin from Karen as her maternal instinct was evidently strong. Eric and Karen reached an agreement regarding asset distribution. Upon offering him the house, he accepted, considering it an opportunity to regain his daughters. As I departed on the plane, it was the last week of August. The farm was prepared, the old house demolished, and a new one constructed. The barn was renovated where necessary and the yard cleaned up. Before leaving, I rebuilt the driveway leading to the house and barn. Uncle John drove me to the airport because I would be driving a U-Haul back later. Karen sold her practice, and an associate finalized the divorce early in September. Over the past month, numerous deliveries were made to the farm. Uncle John assisted in setting up new furniture and distributed what wasn't needed from Mom and Dad's belongings to Goodwill or people who could use them. It was heartwarming to witness neighbors assisting each other once more. That Friday at around 6 p.m., Karen greeted me at the airport with an enormous smile I had never seen before. Alongside her were Amber and Meadow. After bestowing a long-awaited kiss on Karen, I dropped down on one knee and presented her with a proposal, which brought joy to her daughters. They videotaped everything, including the ring being placed on her finger as I slid it across. Knowing about my surprise, Amber and Meadow had organized a massive celebration dinner at a restaurant featuring both dinner and dancing. All our daughters and David were in attendance. The ladies kept David and me on the dance floor for most of the evening between the two of them. When we arrived at Karen's house, Meadow informed us to wait in the car briefly. She and Amber darted inside and returned with a large overnight bag intended for their mother. "Mom, Dad, we've reserved a suite at the Hampton Inn for the weekend," they announced. "We won't see you until Monday," added Amber. In our suite, we discovered a massive hamper containing 2 champagne bottles, chocolates, strawberries, 2 glasses, balloons, and roses. The note read, "Congratulations from your 5 daughters." It seems we didn't leave the suite over the weekend. After enjoying a delightful breakfast on Monday, we fetched a U-Haul truck. Larger than anticipated, it was. I inquired about it, but Karen indicated I had to wait till afternoon for the unveiling. At Fate and Hope arrived and declared they too were moving eastwards. They'd secured jobs near my future residence, courtesy of the Vermilion School Board. Karen had donated some furniture, and we were to transport their belongings from their mother's house to a rented storage unit. They secured a 3-bedroom house through a real estate agent, ensuring Amber could reside with them when the weather turned unfavorable. I entrusted the suite to Eric Hopper, who consented to cover all my court expenses in Vancouver. We received our divorce certificates at the end of September. On the last Saturday in October, Karen and I exchanged our vows before our combined family. Carrie and David, along with little Colin, traveled to attend. In front of everyone, Karen gave me an astonishing surprise. She announced that a new addition was coming into our world sometime in May. Our doctor hasn't disclosed whether it's a boy or girl yet,